The notification popped up on my phone at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday that started like any other. I was sitting in my F-150, the same truck I'd driven for 8 years, because it still ran perfectly, and I didn't believe in waste. The construction site hummed with activity around me. The rhythmic pounding of hammers, the whine of power saws, the shouts of men who'd worked together so long they communicated in half sentences and gestures. Riverside Gallery tagged you in a photo. I almost swiped it away. Emma had been talking about that new art gallery for weeks, maybe months. Every dinner seemed to include some mention of it. They have the most amazing local artists, James. You'd really appreciate the craftsmanship in their sculptures. We should go together sometime when you're not buried in blueprints. But we never did go together. I was always buried in blueprints, estimates, permits, or dealing with suppliers. 23 years of building Morrison Construction from a single pickup truck and a tool belt into a company with 42 employees and annual revenues of 12 million. That kind of growth didn't happen by taking long lunches at art galleries. I clicked on the notification while taking another bite of my turkey sandwich, same lunch I'd eaten for probably 5 years. Consistency had built my business. Routine had built my life. Lunch hour art lovers, capturing the beauty of midday gallery visits. The photo loaded slowly on my phone. The gallery had good taste. I'd give them that. Natural light flooded through floor-to-ceiling windows that must have cost a fortune to install. Modern fixtures, polished concrete floors that looked like they'd been poured by someone who knew their craft. And there, in the background, but unmistakably clear, was my wife. Emma's auburn hair caught the light like it always did. She'd spent 45 minutes that morning styling it, same as every Tuesday when she had what she called her big territory day. I'd kissed her goodbye at 6:30 a.m., told her she looked beautiful, wished her luck with her client meetings. She was holding hands across a small bistro table with Dr. Brian Ashford. I knew him immediately. How could I not? Emma talked about him constantly. Her biggest client. The one whose practice ordered more pharmaceutical samples than any other in her territory. The one who'd specifically requested her as his rep when her predecessor retired. The one whose holiday party we'd attended last December, where he'd complimented her knowledge of drug interactions while his wife fetched another glass of wine. Their fingers weren't just touching. They were intertwined, intimate. The way she used to hold my hand when we were dating, before morning goodbyes became routine pecks on the cheek and evening conversations became status updates about our respective days. Her body language told the whole story. Leaning in, shoulders relaxed. That little smile she got when she was genuinely happy, not the professional one she wore for clients. Her free hand was playing with her necklace, the diamond pendant I'd given her for our 4th anniversary. She always did that when she was nervous or excited. I set my sandwich down on the dashboard and stared at the photo. My mind cataloged details with the same precision I used for construction estimates. The wine glasses, nearly empty. The remains of what looked like an expensive lunch. The way Brian's thumb was stroking her wrist. The fact that they were tucked into a corner table, partially hidden by a sculpture, but not hidden enough from the gallery's social media manager, who was apparently documenting their lunch hour art lovers. My foreman, Mike Kowalski, must have noticed something was wrong. 20 years of working together had made us almost telepathic on job sites. He walked over from where he'd been reviewing plans with the electrical contractor, his boots crunching on the gravel. Boss, you all right? You look like you've seen a ghost. I handed him my phone without a word. Mike was more than a foreman. He'd been my 3rd employee when I was still operating out of my garage. He'd stood as a groomsman at my wedding 5 years ago. His wife, Linda, had helped Emma pick out her dress. I watched his face change as he processed what he was seeing. Confusion first. Why was I showing him a gallery photo? Then recognition. Hey, that's Emma. Then understanding. Wait, that's not James she's with. Then anger. His jaw tightened and his free hand clenched into a fist. Boss. Jim. Is this what I think it is? Look at the timestamp, Mike. Today. An hour ago. He looked up at me. She told you she had client meetings all day. She did. This doesn't look like a client meeting. No, Mike. It doesn't. He handed the phone back carefully, like it might explode. What are you going to do? That was the question, wasn't it? What does a man do when his world tilts off its axis in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon? When everything he thought was solid suddenly looks like a house built on sand. Mike, I need you to do something for me. Get Carlos and Tom. Tell them to bring their phones and meet me at my truck in 5 minutes. Tell them to clear their afternoon schedule. You sure you want to do this today? Maybe sleep on it, think it through? If I go home tonight and pretend I don't know, I'm complicit in my own deception. If I confront her tonight in private, it becomes he said she said. No, Mike, this ends today, but it ends right. Mike nodded and headed off to find the guys. I appreciated that he didn't argue. Good foremen know when to push back and when to follow orders. This was a follow orders moment. While Mike gathered the crew, I made my calls. The first was to David Brennan, my attorney for the past 15 years. He'd handled my business incorporation, contracts, and yes, the prenuptial agreement Emma and I had signed before our wedding. Brennan Law, David speaking. David, it's James Morrison. I need divorce papers drawn up immediately. Silence for a beat. James, what's happened? I'll explain when I see you. Can you have papers ready in an hour? That's extremely fast. Are you certain about this? No chance of reconciliation? David, I need those papers ready, and I need a process server on standby. Can you do it, or do I need to call someone else? I can do it. But James, I have to advise you to think about this. Divorce is a major decision. The decision was made for me when my wife chose to hold hands with another man in public. I'm just handling the paperwork. Another pause. Understood. I'll have everything ready. Where should the process server meet you? I'll text you the location. And David, pull out the prenup. I want to make sure we're completely clear on what's mine and what's marital property. Already pulling the file. James, I'm sorry. Me too, David. Me too. The second call was to Secure Home, the company that had installed and maintained my home security system. The same house I'd bought and renovated 2 years before I met Emma. The house that was titled in my name alone, purchased with money I'd saved living in a studio apartment for 5 years while building my business. Mr. Morrison, how can we help you today? I need my locks changed. All of them. Today. Is there a security concern? You could say that. I need it done by 5 p.m. Can you make that happen? For a priority client like you? Absolutely. Our team can be there by 4 p.m. Will anyone else need the new keys? No, just me. The third call was to myself. I opened my voice recorder app and spoke clearly. This is James Morrison. It's 2:55 p.m. on Tuesday, October 15th. I've just discovered via a social media post from Riverside Gallery that my wife, Emma Morrison, is engaged in what appears to be an intimate relationship with Dr. Brian Ashford of Riverside Medical. I'm about to investigate further and document what I find. This recording serves as a contemporaneous record of my discovery. I'd learned long ago that documentation was everything in business. Turns out it's everything in divorce, too. Mike returned with Carlos Mendez and Tom Washington. Good men, both of them. Carlos had been with me 12 years, Tom for 8. Both were family men who'd understand viscerally what this meant. Gentlemen, I said, keeping my voice steady, I need witnesses for something. We're going to the Riverside Gallery. My wife is there with someone who isn't me. I need you to document what you see, photos, videos if necessary, but be discreet. This is about protecting myself legally, not causing a scene. What's going on, boss? Carlos asked, though his expression suggested he already suspected. I showed them the photo. Tom whistled low. Carlos just shook his head and muttered something in Spanish that probably wasn't complimentary. That's messed up, Jefe, Carlos said. How long you think this has been going on? I don't know, but we're about to find out. I looked at each of them. I need you to understand something. We're going there as professionals. No violence, no screaming, no drama. We document, we confront if necessary, and we leave. Can you do that? All three nodded. These were men who'd helped me build something from nothing. They'd seen me work 18-hour days, negotiate million-dollar contracts, and handle crisis after crisis with calm determination. They'd trust me to handle this the same way. One more thing, I added. Whatever happens, whatever we see, you follow my lead. This is my marriage, my problem to solve. You're there as witnesses and support. Clear? Clear, boss, they said almost in unison. The drive to the gallery took 18 minutes. I know because I watched every second tick by on the dashboard clock, my mind racing through the implications. Emma thought I was at the Riverside site all day. It was our biggest current project, a medical complex that would take another 6 months to complete. She knew I rarely left during the day, especially not for lunch. I ate in my truck, reviewed plans, made calls, and stayed close to the action. Had she counted on that? How many Tuesdays had she spent at this gallery while I sat in my truck eating turkey sandwiches and reviewing budgets? Boss, Mike said from the passenger seat, you want to talk about it? Nothing to talk about yet. We'll see what we see. I mean, how you're feeling? I glanced at him. How would you feel if it was Linda in that photo? He was quiet for a moment. Like the world just ended. Yeah, that about covers it. The Riverside Gallery sat like a gleaming jewel next to the Four Seasons Hotel, all glass and modern angles and conscious sophistication. The kind of place that served $15 glasses of wine to people who discussed art they didn't understand while checking their phones for stock prices. The parking lot held a mix of luxury vehicles, Mercedes, BMWs, a few Teslas. Emma's white Mercedes C-Class was parked near the entrance. I recognized Brian's black Porsche Cayenne 3 spots over. I parked across the street in a loading zone. One advantage of driving a construction truck was that people assumed you belonged anywhere. We could see through those floor-to-ceiling windows from here. The late afternoon sun slanted through the glass, illuminating the gallery's interior like a stage set. They were still there. Same table. Same intimate positioning. His hand was now on her knee, visible above the table line. She was laughing at something he'd said, her head thrown back in that way that had first attracted me to her at a Contractors Association mixer 6 years ago. Record from here, I told Carlos, who had the best phone camera. Get a clear shot of both of them, the way they're interacting. Tom, you're with me. Mike, stay with Carlos and be ready to come in as another witness if needed. Boss, Tom said quietly. You sure about this? Maybe she's just being friendly. Maybe it's not what it looks like. I zoomed in on the gallery's Facebook page on my phone. Look at this, Tom. Check the history. I scrolled through weeks of posts. There they were, background figures and lunch hour art lovers posts dating back 4 months. Every Tuesday. Sometimes Thursdays. Always the same corner table. Always the same body language. The progression was clear even in the background of other people's photos. Professional distance in the early shots, gradual closing of space, and now, this. Okay, Tom said. It's exactly what it looks like. Yeah, let's go. The gallery was quiet for a Tuesday afternoon. Soft jazz played over hidden speakers, the kind of elevator music that wanted to be sophisticated, but just sounded pretentious. A few patrons wandered between installations. The gallery owner, a thin woman in architectural glasses and an aggressively artistic scarf, smiled as we entered. Welcome to Riverside Gallery. I'm Patricia. Are you gentlemen looking for anything particular? Just browsing, I said, moving toward the wine bar area. Tom peeled off to look at sculptures, positioning himself with a clear view of the corner table. I walked slowly, taking in the art I couldn't care less about while my peripheral vision tracked my target. Emma had her back to the entrance. Brian faced it, but was too absorbed in whatever he was saying to notice me. His hand had moved from her knee to her thigh. I was 10 feet away when she saw me. She'd turned to signal the server for another glass of wine and caught sight of me in profile. I watched it happen in slow motion, the casual glance, the double take as her brain registered that her husband was standing in an art gallery on a Tuesday afternoon, the color draining from her face like someone had pulled a plug. Her sharp intake of breath made Brian look up. He followed her stare and found me standing there, hands in my pockets, expression carefully neutral. James! Emma's voice cracked. What? What are you doing here? Interesting medical conference, Emma. My voice was steady, calm. 23 years of dealing with difficult clients, failed inspections, and construction disasters had taught me the value of controlling your emotions when it mattered most. Anger could come later. Right now, I needed cold clarity. Brian's hand jerked back from her thigh like he'd touched a hot stove. Recognition dawned on his face. We'd met at his holiday party, at a few pharmaceutical events Emma had dragged me to. His confident surgeon's demeanor crumbled. Mr. Morrison, this isn't... We were just having lunch? I pulled out my phone, showing them the gallery's Facebook post. Funny thing about social media. Gallery's been documenting your Tuesday lunches for months. Every week. Same table. I scrolled through the photos. Here's September 3rd, September 10th, 17th, 24th. Should I keep going? Emma stood up so fast she knocked over her wine glass. The burgundy liquid spread across the white tablecloth like blood from a wound. James, please, let me explain. Explain what? How you've been lying to me every Tuesday for 4 months? How your big territory day was actually an affair with your biggest client? I turned to Brian. Or should we discuss how you've been compromising your medical ethics by sleeping with your pharmaceutical rep? His face went from red to white. You can't prove... I don't have to prove anything, doctor. Your hospital will investigate. Your prescription patterns for Emma's products will tell the story. How much above average are you prescribing Pfizer products? 50%? 100? More? Emma reached for my arm. I stepped back. James, it's not what you think. We're just friends who... Friends don't hold hands like that. Friends don't meet secretly every week. Friends don't lie to their spouses about where they are. I gestured to the table, the wine, the intimate setting. This is what you wanted, isn't it? The attention, the excitement, the successful doctor who makes you feel special? You don't understand, she said, tears starting to flow. You're always working, always at job sites or in your office. When was the last time we had lunch together? When was the last time you asked? When was the last time you said, "Hey, James, let's grab lunch," instead of sneaking off to hold hands with another man? The gallery owner had noticed the commotion. Other patrons were staring. Tom had his phone out, discreetly recording. This was about to become very public, which was exactly what I needed. Sir, Patricia approached cautiously, is there a problem here? No problem, I said. Just discovering that your gallery has been the setting for my wife's affair. Those lunch hour art lovers posts? You've been documenting adultery for months without knowing it. Her eyes widened behind those architectural glasses. She looked at Emma, at Brian, at the spilled wine, and understood the implications immediately. Her gallery had just become ground zero for a very public scandal. That's when David's process server walked in. I'd texted him the location when we parked. He was a tall, thin man who looked like an accountant but moved with purpose. Emma Morrison? She looked at me, panic in her eyes. James, no, please. We can talk about this. Are you Emma Morrison? The server repeated. She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks, mascara beginning to run in dark rivers. You're being served. He handed her the papers in front of everyone. Patricia, the other patrons, Brian, my witnesses, the server who'd come to clean up the wine. You have 30 days to respond. Emma looked at the papers like they were written in a foreign language. You're divorcing me? Just like that? Without even talking? What's to talk about? You made your choice every Tuesday for 4 months. You chose him over us. Now I'm choosing me over this sham of a marriage. Brian stood up, trying to salvage some dignity. This is ridiculous. You're overreacting to a simple lunch. Doctor, Ashford, I cut him off. You should know that I'll be filing a formal complaint with Riverside Medical regarding your inappropriate relationship with a pharmaceutical representative. I'm sure they'll be interested in reviewing your prescription patterns for Emma's products. The state medical board will get a copy too. His face went pale. You can't. This could ruin my career. Actions have consequences. You knew she was married. You pursued her anyway. You compromised your medical ethics for what? Some afternoon delight at an art gallery? It wasn't like that, he protested. We connected over. Over what? Her sample case. Your prescription pad. Save it for the ethics board. I turned to Emma. Your things will be in the garage. The locks are being changed as we speak. All the cars are titled to the company. Leave the keys in the Mercedes. Your personal items from the vehicle will be with your other belongings. James, you can't just kick me out. That's my home, too. Actually, I can. The house is mine. Premarital asset. Your name isn't on the deed. Check the prenup you signed. You have no claim to it. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. Maybe Brian has room. Oh, wait. I looked at the good doctor. You're married too, aren't you? 3 kids? Your wife probably won't be thrilled about your Tuesday art appreciation sessions. Brian slumped back into his chair. The reality of the situation was hitting him like a sledgehammer. His affair was about to become public. His wife would find out. His hospital would investigate. His medical license could be in jeopardy. All for some lunches that had clearly progressed beyond holding hands. I need to go, he muttered, pulling out his wallet. Running won't help, I told him. The complaints are already drafted. They'll be sent certified mail tomorrow morning. Your chief of staff will have a copy by Thursday. He looked at Emma, then at me, then back at her. This is insane! Emma, tell him nothing happened! She was sobbing now, ugly crying that made other gallery patrons uncomfortable. Brian, please. But he was already walking away, leaving her with the check, the spilled wine, and the ruins of her marriage. So much for true love. I turned to Patricia. I apologize for the disturbance. You run a nice establishment. It's not your fault my wife chose to conduct her affair here. I don't know what to say, Patricia stammered. Nothing to say. But you might want to reconsider those Tuesday lunch posts. You've been documenting adultery. Could be a liability issue if other spouses figure it out. I walked out with Tom, collected Mike and Carlos from across the street, and headed back to my truck. My hands didn't start shaking until I was behind the wheel. Boss, Mike said quietly, you okay? No, but I will be. That was... Carlos searched for words. That was stone cold, Jefe. But she had it coming. She made her choice, I said, starting the engine. Now we all live with the consequences. The drive back to the construction site was silent except for the rumble of the diesel engine. Each man lost in his own thoughts about what they'd witnessed. Mike finally broke the silence. You need us to do anything else? Yeah. I need you to run the site for the rest of the day. I've got lawyers to meet and complaints to file. We got you, boss. Take care of what you need to. I dropped them at the site and drove to David's office. He was waiting with the papers, a sympathetic expression, and a bottle of good scotch. Rough day? He asked, pouring 2 glasses. You could say that. I took a sip, feeling the burn. What's my exposure here? Minimal. The prenup is solid. I wrote it myself. The house is yours. Purchased before marriage, titled in your name only. The business is protected, incorporated before you met her. All the vehicles are company property. Joint assets are limited to about $1 million in savings and investments. She'll fight it. She can try. But she's signed with full disclosure and her own attorney. No duress, no deception. She knew what she was agreeing to. What about alimony? 5-year marriage in Colorado? She's employed with good earning potential? Unless she can prove need, unlikely. Especially with cause for divorce. I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos Carlos had taken from across the street, the Facebook history, everything. David whistled. That's about as clear-cut as it gets. Adultery with evidence, public conduct, no ambiguity. I want to be fair, David. I'm angry, but I don't want to destroy her. He leaned back in his chair. James, you're already being more than fair. You could go after her for adultery, demand she get nothing. You could make this ugly. Instead, you're offering equitable distribution of marital assets only. That's generous under the circumstances. I just want it over. Clean break, move on. Understood. Now, tell me about these complaints you mentioned. I laid out my plan. Formal complaints to Riverside Medical, Pfizer's compliance department, the state medical board, and the pharmaceutical regulatory board. David took notes, occasionally nodding. It's aggressive but legal, he said. You're reporting legitimate ethical violations. Both of them broke professional codes of conduct. The consequences are on them, not you. Will it stick? The hospital will definitely investigate. No medical center can ignore a credible complaint about prescription irregularities. Pfizer will absolutely take action. Pharmaceutical companies don't mess around with compliance violations. The boards. That depends on what the investigations find. We spent the next 2 hours drafting the complaints. David had a way with legal language that was devastating in its precision. By the time we finished, we had 4 letters that would effectively end 2 careers. As I was leaving, David put a hand on my shoulder. James, I'm sorry this happened, but I'm impressed with how you're handling it. Most men would lose their minds. Losing my mind won't change what happened, won't make her faithful, won't rebuild trust. All I can do is protect what I built and move forward. Still, it takes strength to think clearly when your world's falling apart. I drove home to meet the locksmith, my phone buzzing constantly with calls and texts from Emma. I didn't answer. There was nothing to say that wouldn't be better said through attorneys. The locksmith, a young guy named Derek, was efficient and professional. Changing locks for security, he asked while working on the front door. Something like that. I get it. Did a lot of these during COVID when relationships were falling apart. Quick tip? Change the garage door codes too. People forget about those. Smart kid. I hadn't thought of that. By the time he finished, I had new keys to every door, new codes for the garage and security system, and a strange sense of finality. This house I'd bought and renovated with my own hands, where I'd thought I'd found happiness with Emma, was mine alone again. Emma's calls had progressed from frantic to angry to pleading based on the voicemail previews. 47 calls in 3 hours. I documented each one but didn't listen. My attorney would need the records. I walked through the house, seeing it differently now. The furniture we'd picked together. The art she'd selected. Ironically, several pieces from the Riverside Gallery. The photos of our wedding, vacations, family gatherings, all props in a play where I'd been the only one who didn't know it was fiction. I started packing her things methodically. Clothes, jewelry, personal items. I was careful with everything, using the good boxes, wrapping breakables properly. I wasn't trying to punish her by destroying her belongings. The consequences of her choices would be punishment enough. In her jewelry box, I found the receipt for a necklace I didn't recognize. Purchased 2 months ago from a high-end jeweler. $3,000. Paid in cash. I'd never seen her wear it. I photographed the receipt and added the necklace to the pile. Let her explain that to her attorney. Her computer was password protected, but her iPad wasn't. I knew I shouldn't look, but I needed to understand. How long had this been going on? How blind had I been? Her calendar told the story. Tuesday, client lunches, going back 6 months. Thursday, territory reviews that matched Brian's schedule. A hotel charge on the company credit card from a month ago. Client entertainment that happened to be at the same hotel where Brian had attended a medical conference. I took screenshots of everything and emailed them to myself. David would want to see this. In her email, I found the smoking gun. Messages between her and Brian going back 8 months. Starting professional, becoming personal, then intimate. Plans to meet. Discussions about feelings. Complaints about spouses who didn't understand them. One email from Brian stood out. Emma, you deserve someone who appreciates your intelligence and beauty. Someone who sees you as more than just a wife or a rep. You're extraordinary. And her response. You make me feel alive again, Brian. James is a good man, but he's married to his business. You're married to medicine, but you still see me. I sat on our bed, my bed now, and read their correspondence. Each message another nail in the coffin of our marriage. She'd been emotionally gone for months before it became physical. Every "I love you," she'd said, every morning kiss, every night together had been a lie for almost a year. The doorbell interrupted my archaeological dig through the ruins of my marriage. Mike stood on the porch with a six-pack and a pizza. "Figured you might need some company, boss." I let him in, grateful for the interruption. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Emma and I had shared countless meals, and ate in companionable silence for a while. "The guys are worried about you," Mike finally said. "I'm fine." "No, you're not, but you will be." He took a pull from his beer. "Linda wants to know if you need anything. Meals, laundry, whatever." "Tell her thanks, but I've been taking care of myself since I was 18. I'll manage." "She also said to tell you that Emma's an idiot. Her words, not mine." That got a small smile. Linda always was a good judge of character. "She never liked Emma much," Mike admitted. "Said she was too polished, like she was always performing instead of just being." "Yeah, well, turns out it was all a performance." We finished the beers and pizza, talking about work, the Riverside project, anything but the elephant in the room. Mike was good people. He knew when to push and when to just be present. After he left, I went back to packing. Emma's things filled the garage by midnight. 17 boxes, 6 suitcases, 3 garment bags. 5 years of infiltration into my life condensed into a neat pile by the door. I finally listened to one of her voicemails. "James, please, I'm begging you. Let me explain. It's not what you think. Brian means nothing. It was just, I was lonely, and you're always working, and he paid attention to me. Please don't throw us away over a mistake. I love you. I love our life. Please call me back." Classic. It meant nothing, but she'd been doing it for months. She was lonely, but never said anything. She loved our life, but not enough to protect it. I texted her once. "Your belongings are in the garage. Code is 1234. Come get them whenever. Don't attempt to enter the house. Cameras are recording." Her response was immediate. "Can we please talk? I'm still your wife." I didn't respond. Legally, she was still my wife. In every way that mattered, she'd stopped being that the first time she held Brian's hand across a gallery table. Sleep didn't come easy that night. The bed felt too big, the house too quiet. But underneath the pain and anger was something else. Relief. The vague feeling that something had been off in our marriage finally made sense. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't imagining things. She'd been pulling away for months and I'd blamed myself. Figured I needed to work less, be more present. Turns out presence wasn't the problem. Character was. The next morning came too soon. By 6 a.m., I was at the office drafting the formal complaints. Each one was precise, factual, and devastating. To Riverside Medical's Chief of Staff. "Dear Dr. Williams, I am writing to report an inappropriate relationship between Dr. Brian Ashford, a surgeon at your facility, and Miss Emma Morrison, a pharmaceutical representative with Pfizer. This relationship represents a clear conflict of interest and potentially compromises the integrity of prescription decisions at your facility. Enclosed, please find photographic evidence of their intimate relationship, documented over several months. I have serious concerns about whether Dr. Ashford's prescription patterns for Pfizer products have been influenced by this personal relationship. I request a formal investigation into Dr. Ashford's prescription rates for Pfizer products compared to department averages. Any gifts, meals, or entertainment provided by Miss Morrison to Dr. Ashford. Whether patient care has been compromised by preferential prescribing. I am copying this letter to the State Medical Board and the Department of Health. I trust you will treat this matter with the seriousness it deserves." The letter to Pfizer was similar, but focused on their code of conduct violations. The medical board complaint was more technical, citing specific ethical regulations, each one backed up with photos, dates, and documentation. I sent them all certified mail with return receipt requested. By lunch, the wheels would be turning. Emma showed up at the construction site around noon. I watched on the security cameras as she argued with my crew. They formed a protective wall, these men who'd watched me build my business and my life. She was crying, gesticulating, pleading. Mike stood firm, arms crossed, shaking his head. Finally, she gave up and left. Mike came to the office trailer. She's desperate, boss. Says it's all a misunderstanding. Says you're overreacting. Overreacting? Right. Did she explain the misunderstanding? Something about how they were just friends discussing medical stuff. How the hand-holding was platonic. He snorted. Like we're idiots who don't know what cheating looks like. Thanks for running interference. The guys have your back. Carlos told her if she came back, he'd call the cops. Mike paused. She looked rough, like she hadn't slept. Neither did I. Difference is, I didn't choose this. That afternoon, David called with news. Emma has hired Jennifer Caldwell. Good attorney, knows her stuff. They're requesting an emergency hearing to contest the lockout. Can they win? Not a chance. House is yours. Prenup is clear. But they'll try to argue abandonment, claim you can't just kick her out without notice. What do you need from me? Documentation that she has somewhere else to stay. Parents, friends, whoever. I pulled up her recent texts before I'd blocked her number. Screenshots of messages to her parents saying she was coming to stay with them. Perfect. Also, David continued, Caldwell's making noises about the prenup being unconscionable. Standard tactic. They'll claim you hid assets, that Emma didn't understand what she was signing, that she was pressured. She had her own lawyer review it. We dated for a year before marriage. Where's the pressure? Like I said, standard tactics. They're hoping you'll fold and offer a generous settlement to make it go away. Not happening. That's what I told them. Oh, and James? Pfizer already called. They don't mess around with compliance issues. Emma's been suspended pending investigation. That was fast. Day 2 and the dominoes were already falling. By the end of the week, the situation had exploded. Emma's suspension from Pfizer had triggered an automatic retrieval of her company car and corporate credit cards. She'd had to Uber to her parents' house with her belongings. Brian's situation was even worse. The hospital had immediately placed him on administrative leave when they received my complaint. They'd pulled his prescription records and found exactly what I'd suspected. His rates for Emma's products were 340% above department average. Either he was grossly overprescribing or he was showing favoritism to his mistress's portfolio. Neither option was good. The medical community is smaller than people think. Word spread quickly. Brian's partners voted to begin buyout proceedings. His surgical schedule was redistributed. Patients had to be notified that their surgeon was unavailable. Each notification, another crack in his reputation. I heard through the grapevine that his wife had filed for divorce by day 12. Unlike my situation, they'd been married 18 years with 3 kids and no prenup. She was going for blood. The social media storm started when someone, I never found out who, shared the gallery's photo with the caption, "When you catch your spouse cheating, thanks to Facebook auto-tagging." It went viral locally within hours. The gallery was flooded with comments. People started calling it the Homewrecker Gallery. Patricia Chen called me personally at the end of week 2. Mr. Morrison? I wanted to apologize for our role in what happened. You didn't know, Patricia. No, but we've been naive about our social media posts. We never considered the privacy implications. We've removed all the Tuesday lunch photos and implemented a new policy about tagging people without permission. How's business? A long pause. Honestly, terrible. The nickname has stuck. We've had 3 artists pull their collections. 2 corporate events canceled. I'm considering rebranding entirely. I felt bad for her. She'd just been trying to promote her gallery and had accidentally documented an affair. Patricia, you run a nice place. This will blow over. I hope so. For what it's worth, Mr. Morrison, I'm sorry about your marriage. Emma's parents called that evening. Robert and Sharon had always been good to me. Salt of the earth people who'd worked hard their whole lives and raised their daughter with what they thought were solid values. James, Robert's voice was heavy, we don't understand. Emma won't give us a straight answer about what happened. I emailed him the gallery photos and the timeline I'd constructed from her calendar and emails. The silence on the other end stretched so long, I thought we'd been disconnected. Finally, Sharon's voice came on speaker. "Oh, Emma, what have you done?" "I'm sorry," I said. "I know this isn't easy for you either." "We didn't raise her to be this person," Robert said. "We taught her about commitment, about honesty. Where did we go wrong?" "You didn't. People make choices. She made hers." "For what it's worth, James, we support you. What she did was wrong. Dead wrong." "I appreciate that." "Can I ask?" Sharon hesitated. "Was she unhappy? Did we miss signs?" I'd been asking myself the same question. I thought we were solid. She never said she was unhappy, never asked for counseling, never even hinted there were problems until I was staring at a photo of her holding another man's hand. They promised to keep me informed if any legal issues arose, but understood I couldn't have contact with Emma outside of attorneys. The call ended with Robert saying something that stuck with me. "You're the son-in-law we chose, James. Emma might have thrown that away, but you'll always be family to us." Week 3 brought the professional death blows. Pfizer's investigation had been thorough and damning. They'd found expense reports claiming client lunches that were actually romantic meetings, improper use of sample products, false visit reports to cover the affair time violation of company policy regarding relationships with healthcare providers, damage to company reputation. Emma was terminated for cause. No severance, no benefits continuation, no reference. Her personnel file would forever contain the reason for termination, making her radioactive in the pharmaceutical industry. She'd gone from making $95,000 base plus commission to zero overnight. Her industry connections, carefully cultivated over 8 years, were worthless. Nobody wanted to hire someone terminated for ethics violations in healthcare. Brian's medical board hearing was scheduled for day 90, but the damage was already done. His hospital privileges were revoked. His practice partners forced a buyout at a substantial discount. His referral network evaporated overnight. No physician wanted to be associated with the doctor who traded prescriptions for sex. The gallery never recovered. Patricia tried rebranding, but Homewrecker Gallery had stuck. The Google reviews were brutal. The Facebook page had to be deleted after becoming a meme about infidelity. She eventually sold to a developer at a 60% loss. The space became a CrossFit gym. Emma's attorney reached out to David with a new proposal by week 4. The bravado was gone. The demands for half of everything had evaporated. Now they were asking for 30% of marital assets and 2 years of alimony. "They're getting desperate," David told me. "Emma's got no income, no prospects, and her parents can't support her indefinitely. She needs this settled fast." "What do you recommend?" "Counter at 20% of marital assets, no alimony. It's more than fair considering the adultery and the prenup. She'll take it because she has no choice." "Do it." The negotiations were swift. Emma's situation was deteriorating daily. She'd applied to every pharmaceutical company within 200 miles. They all Googled her. They all found the viral gallery post. They all found the professional forums discussing the Pfizer termination. She was untouchable. She'd expanded her job search to medical device sales, healthcare IT, even insurance. Same result. The healthcare industry is surprisingly small and gossip travels fast. Everyone knew about the rep who got fired for sleeping with a doctor. I heard through Robert that she'd started applying for retail pharmacy technician positions. From 6-figure pharmaceutical sales to $15 an hour at CVS. But even those were hard to get. Nobody wanted to hire someone terminated for ethics violations in healthcare. Meanwhile, my life was moving in the opposite direction. The way I'd handled the situation, calm, professional, by the book, had earned respect in the business community. Marcus Webb, a developer I'd been courting for years, called with an opportunity. "Jim, I heard about your situation. More importantly, I heard how you handled it. No drama, no violence, just clean professional consequences. That's the kind of man I want building my projects. You interested in bidding on a new medical complex?" The irony wasn't lost on me. The affair that started in Riverside was leading to new opportunities in the same neighborhood. A $50 million project, the biggest in our company's history. Send me the specs, Marcus. We'll put together a proposal. Already sent. And Jim? I'm sorry about your marriage, but you're better off. A man who builds things needs a partner who builds alongside him, not one who tears things down. Brian's medical board hearing was a massacre. I didn't attend, but the records were public. 4 hours of testimony, including prescription data showing massive favoritism expense reports that didn't match reality. The relationship timeline constructed from social media character witnesses, only 2 showed up for him. His attempts to minimize and deflect responsibility. The board's verdict was harsh but fair. 2-year license suspension, mandatory ethics retraining, supervised practice for 3 years after reinstatement. His surgical career was effectively over. No hospital would take on that liability. No practice would risk that reputation damage. He ended up teaching anatomy at a community college for $40,000 a year. From $400,000 as a surgeon to barely middle class. His ex-wife got the house, most of the assets, and primary custody of the kids. He saw them every other weekend when he wasn't teaching. The stress and shame drove him to drink. A DUI 6 months after the divorce finally pushed him into AA. Last I heard, he was living in a studio apartment, driving a 10-year-old Honda, and petitioning the medical board for early reinstatement. Good luck with that. The divorce finalized exactly 6 months after that Tuesday afternoon. Emma got her 20%, about $200,000 from various marital assets. No alimony, no claim on the house or business. She signed away everything for what amounted to 2 years of her former salary. I saw her at the final hearing. She'd lost weight, aged years and months. The confident pharmaceutical rep who used to stride into hospitals in designer suits was gone. In her place was a woman in a borrowed dress from her mother, trying to hold on to dignity while her world finished collapsing. Her attorney spoke for her mostly. The fight had gone out of Emma. She signed where indicated, agreed to the terms, and avoided eye contact until the very end. James, she said as we were leaving the courthouse, can I just say one thing? Jennifer Caldwell tried to stop her, but I nodded. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I know it doesn't mean anything now, but I'm sorry. I threw away the best thing in my life for nothing. Brian won't even return my calls now. His wife is taking everything. He blames me for ruining his career, and you were a good husband. You just wanted more, I finished. I get it, Emma. I hope you find whatever you were looking for. I wasn't looking for anything. That's the stupid part. I was happy. I liked the attention. I liked feeling desired. I liked that someone important thought I was special, and I destroyed everything for that feeling. Everyone wants to feel special, Emma. The difference is most people don't betray their spouse to get it. She started crying again. I know, God, I know. I see your truck around town, and I think about how I used to ride in it when you were building the business. How proud I was to be with someone who created things instead of just selling them. How safe I felt knowing you were solid, dependable, real. And I threw it away for lunches with a man who dropped me the second it threatened his career. Emma, I'm working at CVS now. Night shift because it pays an extra $1.50 an hour. I scan items and stock shelves and think about how I used to walk into hospitals like I owned them. My parents look at me with such disappointment. My friends, well, I don't have many friends anymore. Turns out being the town cautionary tale isn't great for your social life. Her attorney touched her arm. Emma, we should go. I just wanted you to know that I know. I know what I lost. I know what I threw away. I know I'm the villain in this story. And I know I'll regret it for the rest of my life. I watched her walk away, this woman I'd promised to love forever, and felt pity. Not love, not hate, just pity for someone who'd had everything and thrown it away for the ego boost of an afternoon affair. Mike was waiting in his truck. He'd insisted on driving me, said no man should be alone after his divorce is finalized. How you doing, boss? Free, I said. I'm doing free. We drove to the new construction site, the medical complex that would define the next phase of Morrison construction. My crews had broken ground the week before. Earth movers and foundation teams swarmed the site with purposeful energy. Funny how things work out, Mike observed. You lose a wife but gain the biggest project we've ever had. One thing I've learned, Mike, you can only control what you build with your own hands. Everything else is just hoping other people have the same values you do. That night, my crews threw an impromptu party at O'Malley's, our regular bar. Not a celebration. They knew better than that. More like an Irish wake for my marriage and a toast to surviving intact. Carlos made a speech after his third beer. Some men would have gone crazy. Some would have gotten violent. Some would have burned everything down. But our boss? He did it right. He stayed cool, stayed smart, and let karma handle the rest. That's a real man. That's why we follow him. That's why Morrison Construction builds things that last. Because the man running it knows that integrity is the strongest foundation there is. They'd all chipped in for a gift. A new hard hat with "Built to Last" engraved on it. I definitely didn't tear up. Must have been the bar smoke. Tom raised his glass. To the boss. May his buildings be strong and his next woman be faithful. Here, here, the crew chorused. A year later, life looked completely different for everyone touched by that Tuesday afternoon. I'd met Maria at a Contractors Association meeting. She was a pediatric nurse presenting on construction site safety around the new children's hospital. Smart, funny, unimpressed by money or status. She knew my story, everyone did, but judged me by who I was, not what I'd been through. We took it slow. Coffee became lunch, became dinner, became something real. She understood long hours and building something meaningful. Her work saving kids, mine creating the spaces where lives unfolded. We fit in ways Emma and I never had. I'm not going anywhere, she told me one night over Chinese takeout in my kitchen. I've dated enough boys playing at being men to recognize the real thing. You build things. You protect what's yours. You handle problems with dignity. That's rare. The business had grown 40% thanks to the Riverside project and the reputation we'd earned. I'd promoted Mike to senior foreman. Given the crew bonuses, that meant their kids could go to college without loans, and started a profit-sharing program. We'd built something together that no affair could destroy. Emma's fall had been complete. The $200,000 from the divorce was gone. Legal fees, living expenses, paying back her parents, trying to maintain some semblance of her former life. She worked the night shift at CVS, scanning items for people who used to be her peers. Sharon called me one day, voice heavy with maternal grief. She's in therapy now, finally trying to understand why she did it. The therapist says something about seeking external validation, about turning 40 and feeling invisible, about mistaking attention for love. I hope it helps her. She knows now that she had real love at home. She just couldn't see it until it was gone. The grass is greener where you water it, but she was too busy looking over the fence. Brian's story was perhaps the most pathetic. Divorced, disgraced, and drinking heavily. His ex-wife had remarried, a stable accountant who coached their kids' soccer teams. Brian saw his children every other weekend when he was sober enough. They called the accountant Dad now. His community college contract wasn't renewed after he showed up drunk to a lecture. Last I heard, he was living in a studio apartment above a liquor store, filing appeal after appeal with the medical board. They all came back denied. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. Patricia Chen sent me a Christmas card from Portland. She'd started fresh with a new gallery focused on local artists and ethical business practices. She thanked me for handling things professionally and not pursuing legal action against her gallery. Sometimes the innocent bystanders recover too. The Riverside Medical Complex opened on schedule and under budget. The ribbon-cutting ceremony was attended by everyone who mattered in the business community. Marcus Webb made a point of publicly thanking Morrison Construction for excellence in execution and integrity in all dealings. Standing there in my suit and hard hat, watching the mayor cut the ribbon on something my team had built from nothing, I thought about time and consequences. 2 years from that Tuesday afternoon to this moment. 2 years that destroyed 2 careers, ended 2 marriages, and rebuilt 1 life. Mine. Emma was probably starting her shift at CVS right then. Brian might have been grading papers or drinking or both. The gallery where they'd conducted their affair was now a yoga studio where people sought balance instead of secrets. And me? I was standing in the sun with Maria at my side, my crew around me, and a building I'd created rising behind me. Solid. Real. Built to last. My phone buzzed. Another notification. Another Tuesday afternoon. But this time, it was Maria sending a heart emoji and proud of you. This time, it was real. The notification that had destroyed my marriage at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday had actually saved my life. It forced me to see what was real and what was performance. It taught me that some people are builders and some are destroyers. It showed me that when someone else's choices threaten to demolish your world, you can either collapse in the rubble or clear the site and build something better. I chose to build. Emma chose to destroy. Brian chose to indulge. Patricia chose to rebuild. Mike and the crew chose loyalty. Maria chose to take a chance on a divorced contractor with trust issues and a successful business. Every choice created ripples. Every action had consequences. Every Tuesday afternoon led somewhere. The gallery might have tagged me in that photo, but I wrote the ending to the story. Not with revenge or rage, but with dignity and determination. With the understanding that the best response to betrayal isn't destruction, it's construction. Building something better from the ruins. Creating something solid where there was only sand. Emma had wanted more than a construction worker who ate turkey sandwiches in his truck and came home covered in dust. She got less than she ever imagined possible. Brian had wanted the excitement of an affair with a beautiful pharmaceutical rep. He got the exhaustion of disgrace and downfall. They'd risked everything for Tuesday afternoons at an art gallery. They lost everything when a social media manager decided to celebrate lunch hour art lovers. And me? I gained clarity, freedom, and the knowledge that I could survive betrayal with grace. I gained respect in my industry, growth in my business, and eventually, a partner who understood that building something real takes time, effort, and integrity. The notification had come at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. By 2:48, my marriage was over, though I didn't know it yet. By the next Tuesday, 2 careers were in ruins. By the Tuesday after that, consequences were rippling through dozens of lives. But by this Tuesday, standing at the ribbon cutting, surrounded by people who respected what I'd built and how I'd built it, I was grateful for that notification. Grateful for the gallery employee who'd unknowingly documented the truth. Grateful for the clarity that came with betrayal exposed. They say the best revenge is living well. I say the best response to someone tearing down your life is to build it back better. Stronger foundations, better materials, proper planning, no shortcuts. Emma took shortcuts through our marriage. Brian took shortcuts through medical ethics. They both took shortcuts to excitement and validation. Shortcuts led them to a gallery on Tuesday afternoons. Shortcuts led them to hold hands across a table while their spouses trusted them. Shortcuts led to that photo, that notification, that moment when everything changed. I don't take shortcuts, never have. Never. When you build things meant to last, you do the work. Every time. No exceptions. That Tuesday notification didn't destroy my life. It revealed what was already broken. And once I could see the damage clearly, I could decide whether to repair or rebuild. I chose to rebuild. From the foundation up, properly, built to last. The notification came at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. The rebuilding started at 2:48. It continues to this day, one solid choice at a time. That's my story. That's how a Facebook tag ended a marriage, destroyed 2 careers, and taught me that the only thing you can truly control is what you build with your own hands. Build wisely, build well, build to last, and always, always check your notifications.